So, hello everyone. I am so excited, beyond excited at this point. My name is Bianca Whitaker. I am the owner of Whitaker Counseling and Consulting, where the mission is to educate, normalize, and empower. And today, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I have three Black men who have joined me to talk about mental health. I'm hoping that more than anything, that this conversation can support my mission or the mission of the company and really just shine light onto these Black men's experiences. I want to create space for their vulnerability and just thank them so much for their presence and just their participation in this. So at this time, I am going to have them introduce themselves, and we can start off with Abri. So if you can just introduce yourself, say your name, your age, and your profession.
My name is Abri Tate. I am 30 and I'm an HR business partner.
And then we'll jump to Jonathan.
What's up, everyone?
What's up?
I'm Jonathan Mitchell. I'm 34 and I am a photographer.
And last but not least,
I'm Zach Jones. I'm 30 years old and I am a professional truck driver.
Okay, so the reason I wanted you guys to state your profession is just for everyone to see that you all do not have a background in mental health. So these are true raw experiences from everyday people, and which is what I am hoping to tap into, the audience that I'm hoping to tap into with speaking about these experiences. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll have 4 rounds, and Jonathan is going to start us off on our first round. And so the question for this round is, how do you define mental health, and when did you become aware of your own mental health?
So the first part, again, like I said, it's a bit of a loaded question, but how would I define mental health? That would be just like how your mental state is, like either basically currently. And that can kind of fluctuate with, you know, certain experiences with what you're going through. And, you know, when I was aware of my mental, like being aware of my own mental state, I would say I don't really have like a specific age on that, but kind of when things started, how can I put this? Basically, things started happening in my life to where it kind of made me focus on my mental state.
Okay. So experiences forced you to say, hey, you kind of need to be aware of this, and this being your mental wellness or mental health.
Right.
Okay. So would anybody else like to piggyback off of what Jonathan shared?
Yeah, I would like to. I would define mental health as being in tune with how you're feeling within that moment, whatever the case may be. Like how Jonathan said, how you're feeling currently, whether it's past, whether it's right now. Just noticing how your body, how you're getting in, how your mind is, whatever emotion you just may be feeling within that moment.
Okay. And when did you become aware of your own mental health?
When I got in counseling.
Okay.
that when I entered counseling for the first time, that's when I got aware of my mental health and how serious we should be in tune with it.
Okay. If you're comfortable, I have a follow-up question because people usually, right, there was something that encouraged the counseling, you know, so that kind of
so that's that piggyback follow-up. Yeah.
That mental health piece. Because right, you said you became aware once you were in counseling. So what inspired, you know, without going into great detail, what inspired you to get into counseling? Because that meant that there was something off.
What inspired me to get into counseling was some reoccurring, how do I want to say it? Some reoccurring obstacles that kept showing up that I just couldn't get past. And I didn't understand why I couldn't get past it, you know, and trying to understand what is that mental blockage that's blocking me.
Okay.
So that led me into, and also just to lean in that too a little bit more, I also seen how that was affecting someone that I was with at that time.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So
yeah.
kind of what Jonathan shared is like when things forced him to kind of say, "Hey, you
Hmm.
need to be aware of this." It sounds like you had a pattern, but
Hmm.
in both cases it was some self-awareness.
Yeah.
Avery, did you want to add?
Yeah, I think I like the point Zach made when it comes to just what is mental health, because I think it's a connection between definitely the past, your present, but also probably your future too. I would say it is for me at least. But I
Hmm.
think it's definitely a connection of like your emotions, mentally where you are, spiritually where you are, and physically, all those different things coming together and just state of it. Hopefully it's positive, but I think we've all had our ups and downs. I think I became most aware in college, like I had a sense, like something,
Hmm.
dealing with quite a bit.
Excuse me.
Dealing with like I was playing sports in college, so trying to be an athlete, but also a decent student, get a degree in case, I had to utilize my degree going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but also to just mature as an adult, and things happen in my family as well, from folks losing their jobs, from people passing. And I was going through my first relationships. So I think after college and starting my first few jobs and like navigating those different things and also the past events that occurred with those same
Hmm.
topics, it kind of hit me flush. And thankfully, I had some decent people around me that are still chosen family, they're friends, but definitely chosen family that had started going to therapy and had opened up about their experiences. So it was something I was open to, but I think a relationship that ended right around the same time I was dealing with family's health and losing some family. I was like, this is the moment where I probably want to consider going to therapy and talking
Hmm.
about my mental well-being.
Hmm.
Yeah. So one theme I noticed with all of you, thank you so much for sharing your experience.
You're
A
welcome.
theme that I noticed with all of you was life. Life started life, and
Life be
it was
happening out
like,
here.
okay, the way I'm used to operating isn't working anymore. And and especially as we become older, and for each of you is different circumstances, but as you progressed and went on, life showed you like, hey, you need to tap into this because everything that you already
Hmm.
had in your toolbox isn't working now.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to provide like the traditional definition. There's many different definitions, but I like how the tone that you guys set. We're just talking about what it affects, and so it definitely affects how you think, how you feel, how you behave. It affects all those
Hmm.
things. So sometimes when people are talking about mental health, we're not thinking about the social, the emotional, the psychological.
Hmm.
Like it's so broad. So you'll hear a lot of different definitions of it, but I appreciate you guys talking more about what it affected and how you became aware of it. So, was
Hmm.
there any final mentions anybody wanted to add regarding mental health and just your awareness of it?
I think it's definitely a process. It's nothing. Once you, it's a big learning curve. It's a process to be aware of yourself, because that's a lot of men don't do that. We don't look ourselves in the mirror, or we can't take that reflection, I would say, and want to sit down and look at our flaws and look at the roles that we may have played into something. So I think it's just an everyday process, and just give yourself grace for what you don't know, because this is something new that you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just
I actually do. Oh, go ahead, Abri.
I was just gonna say though, one aspect I would say for anyone listening, but also for us, it's this, in this space, is being Black men as well, and just Black
Yeah.
folks. I think growing up hearing like, oh, we don't do that. We'll go to church, or we'll talk
Mm.
to our folks. And don't get me wrong, church helped create me into the person I am. Barbershops definitely were appreciated.
Yeah, yeah.
Siblings, but there's still that stigma of like, oh, we don't go to therapy, whatever the case may be. But there's some other things that it would really be helpful to have a professional, in your corner as well. And I know there's programs now to make folks that like truly do work in barbershops will cut your hair, but they're also therapists or trained in some way, shape, or form
Yeah,
to leverage that medium and space. But I think that stigma's got to die, because honestly, people are losing their
yeah.
lives left and right. And it's too
Hmm.
important knowing the generational things we're all navigating on top of current status quo of the systems and different things in place, and that's tough and it's challenging. So
Hmm.
the playing field's not even from the jump. So let's do all we
Hmm.
can for each other and not hinder someone's resource or tool that could help them get some traction and navigating this world.
I appreciate that. Jonathan, you had
Well
something to
said.
add?
Well said.
Yeah, and that was well said. I kind of wanted to piggyback on both. Firstly with what Zach was saying, with the mental wellness, I believe it's more of like being self-aware. And Zach, you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
and like once you are self-aware, like you can find the root cause for whatever it is that's making you
Mm-hmm.
angry, the root cause for
Yep.
whatever it may be. And that is one of the first steps, to having a better, for having better mental health is being
Yep.
self-aware. Because if you can't, like Zach was saying, if you can't look yourself in the mirror, if you can't look at yourself and say, hey, like this is what I have, this and that going on that I need to fix,
Mm-hmm.
like you like there's no progression, you're not going to get anywhere. So
Yeah.
self-awareness is very, very important. I just want to throw that out there.
No,
Agree.
absolutely. And my
Definitely
therapeutic
agree.
tidbit is that
Excuse me real
when
quick.
it's when it comes to counseling, that's the goal. The goal is self-awareness, right? Because you're walking into your counselor right now. If you were to walk in, you're walking in with 3 decades of experiences, of highs, of lows,
Mm-hmm.
of confusions, of all these different emotions, and you're sitting down for an hour, and it's like, make me better. It's not possible. Like, part of that is the work that you do, right? It's their investment in you. Like, they have to get in the trenches and be willing to help confront you and help hold you accountable and guide you through. But it's also, without self-awareness, you won't have change. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely thank you for putting that into the space. So that is a perfect segue to our second question of how do you nurture or tend to your mental wellness? And I said the perfect segue because you have to have the awareness that you need to
Mm-hmm.
tend to that versus just
Mm-hmm.
kind of going through and operating as you have. And before you guys begin, something that comes up, especially when Abri mentioned just kind of like the Black community,
Mm-hmm.
is being aware of the things that didn't work. So how he kind of talked about like, oh, we don't do that. We don't talk about that. We're going to go to church. We're going to do this. We can do that too. But that
Mm-hmm.
does not get us out of our habits. That does not change, how you're operating, or the lack of relationships that you have, or the lack of communication skills that you have, or the lack of emotional intelligence that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I wanted to put that in the space because he kind of mentioned that. So you all had life start lifing for you and kind of walked into and became aware of your mental health or mental wellness. So now, and I'll have Zach start us off, how do you nurture or tend to your mental wellness?
How do I nurture and tend to my mental wealth? Times I get back into counseling. That's one way that I do it. Or another way, I'm really big into journaling. So if at the end of my day, if I notice I'm out on the road or somebody make me mad and I notice how I get in that moment, I get back at the end of my day and I journal and what arose with me in that moment.
I would just say, in terms of taking care of and keep myself like maintenance when it comes to it, I have to work out, honestly. Like that's where I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of thinking. So I try to work out a good bit of the week.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also my check-ins with like my people, like they're definitely my community and I know I'm navigating stuff. Like I'll definitely take time to myself, but I think also in conversation with them, knowing, they care about the person that I am through and through, regardless of all the other stuff. And when they have moments of being like, are you good? You go on the phone, things like that. That can be an indicator too of where I am, how they're receiving the things that I'm sharing, that I'm going through, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to Zach's point, I do the same thing. Journaling helps. Like, rather, if I'm like in an airport, if I'm, just anywhere randomly and I have a thought or a feeling, and I'm thinking through stuff, it helps to journal. I think it's really, really helpful. Music too. I think music
Yeah,
sometimes can also be my
music
downfall.
is
Because I
music is a good
definitely,
one.
where I'm like, I feel something, I want to feel more of it. And it may not
Mm-hmm.
be what I truly should be doing long term, but for that moment, that's what it is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of my friends had this like metaphor of like if you're mad, feel all the feelings, but don't park there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I
Yeah.
try to be cognizant of. And so I'll listen to whatever songs, do my workout and exhaust myself. And then I'll shift
Mm-hmm.
getting back to regular. But
Yeah, yeah.
end it there. But I think Zach, if you're ready, feel free to jump back
Oh
in.
yeah, I was gonna piggyback off you. I forgot to put exercise in there. That's definitely one thing I do. Exercise, listen to music. I'm one way I know I decompress is I come home and jump on a video game for about an hour or so. You know, I like to get around, or you know, I hit up my best friend. I get around like-minded people that I know that's gonna hold me accountable and call me out on something.
Wellness. One thing that's I'm gonna say was left out is prayer. You know, physically, I'm a part of activities. I have, I game. That is like another escape. I'm gonna say this for the people to know. I love to play kendama. Nobody knows what kendama is. If you don't know what kendama is, do your research on what kendama is. But no, like prayer is something that really helps me, and I know that it's that intimacy time with God that really, I haven't gone through any counseling or therapy. I've considered it for my own, mental health. But right now, what I have is, the scriptures and kind of leaning on Christ. And that's really the only thing I wanted to add to that, because, the gaming, the working out, the being active, like that is definitely something, because, I play softball once a week, and when I'm playing in my games or whatever, like I'm not thinking about,
Anything
any
else?
negative, nothing else. I'm just thinking
Yep.
about the hand out, make sure you keep your eye on the ball. You don't want to
Yeah.
strike out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all made some really good points.
I appreciate you sharing that. And one thing that's great about this is you're connected with two men who have explored counseling. So even after this experience, you can ask questions. It may not be for you right now, but it may be like, hey, how do I balance this? And I think that's something very important that people, sometimes when we're thinking about mental wellness, we're thinking like you lit a candle and everything is peaceful. It's not about me, but sometimes going to the gun range, that helps me. That's therapeutic.
I
It's
forgot
healing
about
in its
that one.
own reign, and it's healing in its own way. So, and it's okay to have healthy distractions. So when Abri mentioned like, ooh, I kind of want to feel a feeling, and then, you know what I mean? I may listen to some music that, is kind of keeping me in that feeling. That's okay, because it's when we're trying to avoid it. And then you think of so many people who do turn to their vices because we want to numb and avoid and escape, but you can't have healthy distractions. Because y'all know when somebody take me there, I'm going to play that DMX what they want.
Yeah.
I'm going to play that on repeat a good 3 times. I need Cisco yelling. Like, what do you want? That's what I need to get me back. But something else too that Jonathan mentioned was also just the balance. Like I said, your mental wellness is not just your mind. It's everything that encompasses that state of being. And so to his mention of prayer, sometimes people need to be spiritually, you need to get yourself together before you go and take this journey, because healing is a journey.
It ain't easy.
The other side is greener. I promise the other side is greener. But getting there, you ain't gonna see no greenery. You're gonna be like, what is this? Get me out this trench. So it's a process. So Jonathan, more than anything, you have people on this call that more than willing to take your questions or give you insight or just speak of their experiences. So we will go ahead and transition. If nobody else had anything else to add, we will go ahead and transition to the next question. And this one will be led by Abri. So Abri, for the group, where do you find safety? And I want us to think not just about physical safety, but emotional safety, psychological safety. Like, where do you, Black man, find safety?
Good question. I will say
that is a good question.
My folks, my family, and I'm fortunate for that. Like, not a lot of people have families, so I understand that being a blessing in itself. But also, when I see other Black men in the same spaces as me, when I see like executives, like regardless if they're
I
in my
agree with that.
I notice them quick. They notice me. It's appreciated. but also peers and mentors. I would say too, the gym, like that's a physical one for me.
Mhm.
I think sometimes, like I said, like music is so helpful. Like a lot of people have experienced the things that I have, and in every kind of like niche way, we all have some aspects of ourselves. We're like, I don't even know about that. But I bet you there's an
Yeah.
artist out there
Yeah.
that articulated, like I've had that same messed up thought, or
Yeah.
I did that stupid thing I had to learn the hard way. And that really helps
Mhm.
like play through those feelings and think it through. And that's been helpful. But I would still circle back to my chosen friends. Like even when I don't need
Yeah.
to physically be near them, like I'm an introvert, so I do enjoy my time alone.
Mhm.
And I like playing music. I think Zach and Jonathan even said it too. The being able to play games, like sometimes just a decent
Yeah.
game of
That's
Madden, you feel like
yeah.
you're by
Yeah.
yourself, a little bit of music going, like you're thinking through,
Yep.
it's like a
Yeah, you get
puzzle.
it.
You can
You
like
get
you
it.
can work through some stuff. So I think that time
Yeah.
alone on the walk when I'm going into the office or going to the gym, that's a safe space. But I think chosen friends, like when I can just unload anything and everything, and sometimes it might be crazy, and they'll
Yeah.
give me the right feedback, they'll support me,
Yeah.
they'll also check me. That's when it's special. And I would say too, I would say my therapists have been women for the most part, and I think that's
Mhm.
something that I really do appreciate for the other lens as being a young male,
Mhm.
understanding, the mindset of a woman and how they look at some of these experiences and situations as well.
Mhm.
I think that's helped me understand the world that much more and some of the plights and the struggles and things like that that I can't fully see,
Mhm.
but I empathize and
Mhm.
sympathize with, and also helps
Mhm.
humble me because I'm always like, oh, I'm feeling all these different things, but I know someone's got it,
Yeah.
that much tougher. And so it helps just, kind of give it due weight, I guess I would say.
I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, you shared quite a bit, which I'm very thankful for because you told how you feel safe, but you also told about how you allow your experiences to shape you, and that in turn shape your safety.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. Jonathan, did you want to reply to this one? Where do you find safety?
Mm, I don't really have too much to say on this one.
Okay.
Uh, no,
Okay.
maybe circle back to me.
Yeah.
Okay. No
Circle.
problem. Zach, did you have something
Um,
to share of where you find
I
safety?
think um just piggying back. Is it Aubrey, right?
Avery.
Aubrey or Abri? Abri. Picking back off of what Abri said, just found my safety in like-minded people. That's on his journey as well. As well as something I haven't done in a long time is just grabbing my headphones or either take around the neighborhood or the park. Just having that a long time. To just let nature hit. Let nature just hit your skin and just be in tune with the wind or the smell of nature, just everything around you. I feel safe. I feel safest in that place as well. And another part is a shower for some reason. Don't know. You just strip down and you're just able to think about everything that you want to think about. As a lot of people say, mash your tears if you want to. You're able to get everything out and just be like, okay, I needed that sit down. For some odd reason, I needed to release that.
Mhm.
So that would be it for me.
Okay.
And
Yeah, yeah.
oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
No, no. Go ahead, Abri.
I was just gonna say the one thing I would add is I think I continue to create newer space. I think early on in my journey with my mental health, I had like very limited and it's continued to grow. And what I also say
Mm-hmm.
is there's people that have, whether it's like notice me or taking a chance on me professionally, personally, whatever the case may be, but they've been
Mm-hmm.
direct and straight up like, hey, I see you, I recognize you.
Mhm.
If you ever want support, if you ever need someone to talk to, like that means a lot to me. And I think over time,
Mm-hmm.
continue to really create this space of safety. And they very often don't even look anything like me. They could
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
they could be white. They could be from a whole different country or part of the world, I should say. So I think that's something too that probably early on when I was kind of getting more comfortable with the discussion and the things I'm navigating, I don't necessarily limits. I had like a default, and then from there it's just
Mm-hmm.
grown. And I think that's been a beautiful thing to see. And I meet these people in different spaces and all over the world. So
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you have a sense of community
yes, and
that
that's
feels safe, and not just within your race of individuals, but just community in
Mm-hmm.
general. Okay, Jonathan, we're swinging back to you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say just real quick, just really mostly being alone, I feel um most like safety. I found the most safety being alone a lot of times. Kind of like what Avery was saying. I consider myself an introvert unless you get to
Shit,
know me,
y'all.
and then it's
Yeah.
just like unless you get to know me,
Yeah.
you're just like, well, how could you say that about yourself? No, I am, and I love being alone, and you know, I'm a homebody, and I don't need to be around people, and I just find the most safety with just being alone. That has its good and its bad to it,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's it. That's all I
Well,
want to add to that.
go
I
ahead,
will
Avery.
say this forum, like honestly, there's not enough of this. And I know we're all
Yeah.
just honestly meeting y'all a few minutes ago and starting this
Yeah.
off, but I already feel safe enough to open up about anything and everything.
Yeah.
So that's
Likewise.
you know,
Likewise.
you're
Likewise.
creating this space for us, Bianca, and what you're doing and others alike you. But I would say starting off, especially early on, like my coach was Black. He did not necessarily say, "Hey, you guys need to go to therapy," or you should. Like there was a
Yeah.
moment we definitely had community there, and we looked out for each
Yeah.
other. We had discussions about anything and everything. So in a sense, it was that. But I think outside of that, and my family, the barbershops that I've been going to, there wasn't forums like this as widely available. And I know as I kind of started in my career, I started to see larger public figures talk about that were Black and brown, saying we need to create this, or I will tell you about my own
Yeah.
fights and struggles and things like that. So I mean, but as small as this forum may be, and one day you might have 20 people up here and they're all
Yeah.
running businesses, it's going to be something special. So I think anyone that has this as a true representation of life, but also this community you can create, I think it's special. So thank you for putting this on, and thank you too for being here, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I thank both of y'all for really like piggying back off what you said earlier. Just want to thank Bianca for creating this space for us. Like you led into it, like how you said in counseling, like you had Black therapists, that as women that understand, the plight of, of what Black men go through. We don't have spaces like that where we can sit down, be vulnerable, open, and talk, without being shunned upon, like without being called soft or being called, whatever the case may be, whoever you're around. Like this is really a safe space for us to sit down and talk.
Absolutely. And I thank you for that. And again, it's not for me, it's for you guys. And Abri, you said something very profound, but it's always something that I want to address. Just because I'm Black doesn't mean that I understand what Black men go through. So I may have an understanding, I may be able to empathize a little bit more, but like you guys are on this call right now sharing completely different experiences. And we haven't even gotten to the contextual, your background, the contextual factors of what led you to therapy and did you see it, and are you part of first generation healing? Because I think that is something very, very important in our communities where, like you said, you had that coach and it'll be certain times we talked about stuff, but us right now just taking everything off, or even Jonathan saying like, man, I thought about it, right? Like even that is profound where our parents and aunts and grandmas are like, for what? You know what I mean? So we're kind of figuring out how to navigate this on our own because we are willing to challenge what was normal. We are willing to challenge and say, you know what, I ain't feeling that because I ain't even feeling you. Right? So I have to figure out something different. So I thank you guys for those kind words, but I just want to put in a space that I need your voices to know and to understand truly what you're going through, so I am able to meet you on your journey. I think that part is important. I never want to just assume because I'm Black, right? I think I have an understanding, but it's so much different. And that's important, you know what I mean? But we also are not always in these spaces to where, okay, let's be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's take our gloves off. Let's go. So I thank you all. And that leads us to our final question. How can others show up for Black men in their mental wellness? So I'm really interested because I think, Jonathan, we didn't really get you for the last round. Would you be comfortable leading us off on this one?
Yeah, I don't mind. Because I actually been thinking about this one, and I would say with just an open mind.
Mm,
Uh, an open mind and an open heart,
mm,
because like Abri, Bianca, you mentioned it, and Zach was mentioning, like, um I'm gonna say men, period. You know, like, yes, Black
mm,
men, but like men, period. Like, men don't have a space to be able to talk and be able to just get shit off their chest. Excuse my language. Be able to
mm,
get things off their chest. And you know, with something like this, it's just like, I would say for men to just come more open mind, because you come open mind and open heart, you know, that next brother might share something that will enlighten you, and you might be like, damn, like, we might be actually going through the same thing, or I can learn from
mm,
his experience, or me sharing, me being transparent with this brother, you know, he can learn from my experiences.
mm,
So I would just say, just come with an open mind and open heart, you know.
mm, mm,
I appreciate you saying that and even bringing that into the space. Society tends to shape and mold a lot of how we approach men and how
mm,
you all approach yourselves. And so sometimes it's like a landmine, you know, with the outside looking in, because you don't know what that viewpoint is. You don't know if it's patriarchal. You don't know if it's, you know, kind of like you said, like, oh, she gonna think I'm weak. You don't know like
yeah.
what you're being approached, and that's the reason that I'm trying to nurture spaces like this where you can just exist.
Mm,
You can just exist. It doesn't
mm,
have to be this, and I put that. But if she's there, but if I'm with my boys, it can be just exist. So
yeah.
definitely thank you for putting that in the space. Who would like to share next? How can people show up for Black men in their mental wellness?
I can go next.
Okay.
I would
Got
say
it.
continuing to meet folks where they are. And that means at every age. Like I know one thing I even took away from my coach and my teammates was them articulating we should all do our best to try to work with like boys and girls clubs. Because many folks don't have a parent they can look up to. They might be navigating certain things in life and they can't be present at all those moments. And they might be doing everything right, honestly.
Mhm.
So being able to support them and give a forum like this, honestly, to someone like I wish I had that when I was a little bit younger. So I had more
Mhm.
Yeah.
preparation handling my emotions as I went through my teenage years, then college, and then after that. But also as you get older, like in the workforce, like I said, like having that space, like
Mm,
ERGs are important. Having DEI kind of built into the true objectives of organizations are important.
Mhm.
And seeing that
mm,
representation, but also the impact of the representation, not just having them there for face. And I think just having, to Jonathan's point, that open mindset and remembering, I think, and this is my own opinion, that we should
mm,
be, passing it down to the others, passing it along. This
mm,
learnings, but also these experiences, but also the partnership and support. And it's
Hmm.
heartbreaking, I would say, for me when I hear others, removing such things or not giving back. The
mm,
example of like Clarence Thomas, who was there, one of our Supreme Court justices, and then they rule against an ability for folks to have access to education, which some of that education got him into clerkship and law school and all those different things. And that's just heartbreaking. It's the biggest seat in the judicial side. And, he's tearing away this mechanism. But what I'm trying to derive from that is make sure we're giving back. If anything, we're creating more resources for everyone, but making sure as well we're thinking about, the future Abrys, the future Zachs, the future
mm,
Jonathans, because they need that same helping hand. And hopefully their path's a little bit easier. And they will do the same thing for others, no matter their gender,
mm,
race, creed, all those different things. But this world's tough enough. I think COVID kind of reminded us of that in a big
yeah.
way. And that was a big moment for me, going back to your earlier question, Bianca, about what triggered some things. That was, you're in a glass, like, fishbowl and you're seeing all these different things. And you're like, whoa, I got to check in with myself. Am I giving back? Am I
Mm,
helping people have access to vote and express themselves, which is a part of the mental health pieces too.
mm,
So,
Absolutely.
mm,
Absolutely. You're really big on community. That's been a theme in all your responses.
mm,
So thank you.
point.
And I pay
mm,
attention.
mm.
Okay, Zach, did you want to add how can people show up for Black men in their mental wellness?
Definitely lean on what Jonathan said, having an open heart. And I think more importantly, listen, because we felt like our voices aren't heard enough. We for so long, the system has taught us like, oh, we got to bottle everything in, we got to hold everything in, and end up lashing out when we get to a boiling point because we felt we're not being heard. From a young age, you're telling whatever you're feeling, whatever hurts you from a young age, you're telling, hey, suck that up. Like, hey, whatever you feeling right now, put that to the side. Don't deal with it later. Whatever the case may be, even if it's death. We have a lot of homies that go through death, and we're whatever the case may be, like we feel like not being heard. So I think things being heard and listened to is the most important thing.
Also,
Absolutely. Well, I hope more than anything you all felt heard today, that you felt seen, that you felt
No,
valued,
definitely did.
that your presence was needed, and this didn't have to be a long, elaborated session, and this can be one of many. But I thank you all because someone is going to see this. Like I said, whether it's that wife or it's that mom, whether it's that sister, whether it's that nephew, someone's going to see this, say, oh my goodness, it's not just me. Right. So speaking, kind of piggybacking off what Zach just said of like, keep it bottled up, and then Zabri mentioned like, man, that artist had the same crazy thought I had. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not feeling alone in this. And that is so important. And I hope more than anything, you guys know that you are valued and that your mental wellness is of extreme importance. And that's not to say it's prioritized over anyone else's, but just that it exists. Kind of like the fact of Black Lives Matter, right? For some people, it offended them, and it's like, yeah, the lives matter, but this is just a fact. And so your mental health matters just as it matters for anyone else. And just if it took this quick moment to shed some light to that and just give you guys the space, I thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and close out. And I want, in our closure, you can give your final words, and you can also let people know where they can find you.
sure. I can pick it off. Sure.
I was saying. Sorry, Abri. Sorry, Abri.
Thank you for this space. It's needed. We need them in small sizes, medium sizes, large sizes. This is special. Like I've known them for a few minutes, and I feel like we're boys that go way back, and we'll be in touch for some time.
All right, I'm gonna get y'all number as soon as we get off.
Yeah, exactly. So if you ever will do anything like it, definitely sign me up. But I am appreciative of seeing other folks navigating the same things in different ways, but similar ways as well. And to your point, whoever's hearing this, seeing this, know we're all here to support you. We're all fighting this fight together, and just have hope that we'll continue to make a dent and improve it for the next folks coming behind us. If folks want to ever reach out to me, LinkedIn's easy. I'm the only Abri, I think, in the world. Abri, last name is Tate, very conventionally spelled Tate. Feel free to reach out to me, and I will definitely reach back out to you. Wishing you all the best. Take care of yourselves and look out for each other.
Thank you for that.
You got it, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'll go next.
You got it? Or you want me to get it? You got it or you want me to get it?
Nah, I'll go next.
Okay.
Bianca, I just want to say thank you for sure, for creating a space for all three of us. Like Abri was saying, I just met these two gentlemen, and just the comfortability that I have already. I'm looking forward to having more Zoom meetings and learning more about these two men. And I'm not on social media too much, but I'm on Instagram. You can find me on its_narrow. And one last thing, Jesus loves all of you guys, and believe in the blood. 1 Corinthians 15, 1-4. There we go.
Love it. Love it.
Okay. Got a little word on the way out.
Yeah, love it. First off, I just want to say thank you for us. We don't have many spaces and opportunities to come together as Black men, as men in general, to even open up and be vulnerable and talk about these things. So thank Abri and Jonathan as well. It's nice to meet y'all. I'm not on social media as much, but you can find me on Instagram at _ Lockmanzach. So thank y'all.
Well, I thank you all so much. Again, you are important. You are valued. You are seen. You are needed. You are the future. You are our present. You are healing. You are growing. You are valuable. If I can't say that more than enough. And I thank you guys for participating. And I'm just so thankful that this will edify and reach someone else.